You ever notice how the summer I turned pretty is supposed to be soothing and romantic, like sipping iced tea at sunset? But instead it makes you feel like your heart just went through an emotional boxing match. Well, Season three's finale threw the hardest punch yet. Because yes, Belly and Conrad finally came back together. The reunion fans begged for, the reunion the books hinted at, the reunion Team Conrad has been spamming social media with since episode 1. The kiss in Paris, the confessions by the train, the finally, it happened. But here's the twist. Was that ending really a happily ever after, or was it just the calm before Season 4's storm? Conrad and Belly united in Paris is the picture-perfect ending. The streets glowing, hearts racing, years of conflict dissolving. But answer me this: in a show where literally every summer ends in chaos, do we really believe this one is suddenly about peace? Don't lie. You don't believe it either. And honestly, I don't think we were supposed to. Because the truth is, the finale is gorgeous sugar on top of a cake that's about to collapse in Season 4, and buried inside that sugar. Secrets, tension, forbidden foreshadows. Personal reaction loop: when Conrad saw Belly in Paris, smiling as if the city itself disappeared behind her, my brain went, ah woo. But the other half of me whispered, wait, why does this feel staged? Why do I feel like Amazon just baited me into lowering my guard before Season 4 crushes me again? Because let's be blunt, this show has never given us an uncomplicated happy ending. If it isn't steamy triangle drama, it's jealousy, fights, breakups, or running through streets while sobbing at top speed. So, yes, we toasted when Belly ran into Conrad's arms at the train station, but you'd be naive not to smell the tension still clinging around them. And that's where the danger lies. They made us fall in love with the fantasy of finally together. But the pain point is this couple has too much history, too much damage, too many wrecked summers behind them to just ride into peaceful sunsets. The problem isn't, are they together anymore? The real problem is, can they actually stay together? Because if history is pattern, and in this show, it always is, they're not entering a honeymoon phase, they're entering a time bomb. And let's not forget about Jeremiah. You thought he'd just walk away, plant cocoa beans, find new love, and never think about Belly again? Ha, no. This is a triangle, not a line. And triangles always leave sharp edges. Listen, I once promised myself I'd never go back to an ex after a messy breakup. Guess what? I went back. And you know what happened? Exactly what you think. Fighting, revisiting old wounds, walking right back to square one. Belly and Conrad. Multiply that by 3 summers, 2 brothers, and 1 beach house full of memories. That's not stability. It's a love grenade with the pin already pulled. So now let me throw this at you. The big theory cliffhanger. What if Belly and Conrad's Paris perfection was never meant to last? What if that finale was a send-off into Season 4 chaos? A setup for jealousy so raw you'll switch teams mid-episode. A reunion that turns into regret the moment they walk back into Cousins Beach. Because here's where the theories take a sharp left. Season 4 isn't just about weddings and babies and cozy family dinners. It's about the fractures those happy images hide, the fragility of relationships we all want to last forever. And I'll say it clearly. You should subscribe right now before the next season's drops, because the theories around Conrad, Jeremiah, Belly, and Cousins are about to get way darker than anyone expects. Subscribe, because missing the forbidden knowledge hidden in this finale, that post-credit hint from Jenny Han, those subtle choices in Paris, means you'll be stuck piecing Twitter threads together while the truth was hiding here the whole time. Because don't forget, Jeremiah didn't disappear after Conrad's big kiss. No, he walked away quietly, finally with his own happy subplot. But the writers left just enough cracks to remind us, Jeremiah isn't out of this triangle. Not by a mile. That sweet smile, that new relationship, that sudden peaceful chef career with cocoa bean trivia. It all feels like a setup. A suspiciously neat bow tied so tightly around Jeremiah that you just know it's going to unravel the second he sees Belly smiling at Conrad again in Cousins Beach next summer. And that's exactly where episode 1 of Season 4 could reopen every wound we thought was closed. So, yes, we're sitting here overjoyed by Belly and Conrad. We danced with Taylor Swift in our earbuds. We tweeted like maniacs. We cried replaying that train station scene. But now the question is this: is Jeremiah really happy, or is his entire smile a mask waiting to crack the moment the trio reunites under one roof? Because if history repeats, the triangle may not just return, it may burn hotter than ever. And if that's true, then the finale we thought healed us all was just the prettiest lie this show has told yet. So, let's talk Jeremiah. Sweet, charming, cocoa bean fact spouting Jeremiah. On the surface, Season 3 gave him the perfect resolution piece with Conrad, his dad proud of him, new love with Denise, a budding culinary career. A happy Jeremiah is something fans have begged for. But answer me honestly, did it feel a little too neat? Because here's the truth, Jeremiah is still in love with Belly. You don't invest 3 seasons, 3 books, and countless near romances just to shrug and say, well, that didn't work, pass the cocoa beans. That grinny war. Nice. The closure speeches. Heartwarming. But tell me, what happens when Jeremiah sees Belly and Conrad married, raising kids in the cousin's beach house? You think he's going to sit there at the barbecue, flipping burgers with a smile, or will his heart twist the second he sees the life he once dreamed of, standing happily beside his brother? So right now, comment this below. Do you believe Jeremiah is truly over Belly, East, or is it only an act of no? I'd bet the cousin's beach house itself that the no camp will win this poll. Because love triangles don't tie themselves off neatly. They leave wounds. Yes, Jeremiah's dating Denise at the end of Season 3. And I get it. She's sweet supportive. She tells him what he needs to hear. But am I the only one who thought it felt rushed? Like we skipped the year of awkward dates and jumped straight to madly in love? That's because Denise isn't an ending. Denise is narrative bait. She's the placeholder relationship, the kind where the audiences smile politely, but in their heads, we all know what's coming. Fireworks. Not the romantic kind, but the ones that show up in arguments when Jeremiah realizes his heart is still split. So here's the scenario. Imagine Jeremiah walking into the cousin's summer house in Season 4. Belly is glowing next to Conrad, maybe even sporting a wedding ring, maybe holding a child. Now pause. Imagine Denise standing next to Jeremiah, smiling nervously, realizing she just walked into the deepest wound her boyfriend has ever carried. Do you really believe that romance will survive that? Or do you hear the sound of cracks forming already? Look, if my ex showed up years later, suddenly blissful and living their dream with someone else, I wouldn't need a soap opera triangle to implode me. I'd implode myself. Probably order 3 milkshakes, cry with my dog, and pretend Instagram doesn't exist. Jeremiah. Multiply that meltdown by cousin's beach nostalgia and a literal wedding toast to his heartbreak. That boy's not out of the woods. He's in the forest fire. And don't forget, Conrad and Belly only kissed after 5 years of distance. That wasn't instant magic. That was wounds scabbing over just long enough to pretend they'd healed. Season 4 will rip those scabs off. Jeremiah. He's the ripped open nerve in the middle of it all. Which begs the scary question, what does Jeremiah do when he realizes he can't compete anymore? Does he walk away again? Or does he lash out? At Conrad, at Belly, maybe even at himself. Because the truth is, Jeremiah's Season 3 smile might be the most dangerous of all. The smile of someone still bleeding underneath. Taylor and Steven? The subplot that could explode, and while the fandom was crying over Conrad and cheering for Jeremiah's closure. Let's not skip over another ticking bomb, Taylor and Steven. Yes, they were adorable. Yes, they ended the season stronger. But anyone else notice Steven forgot to mention he's moving to San Francisco? Small detail. Or a setup for Season 4 drama?